Ready?
You ready to start the video? Okay. Welcome to Eat Clean Lesson 20. Today I'm going to show you a wonderful crock pot meal that you can make for lunches, prepping ahead for the week, or a dinner. Today, because what I encourage so many people to do is to make things in bulk, I'm showing you this recipe and it's going to make about 12 servings. So how long that lasts you throughout the week depends on how many people you're feeding. So here are our ingredients for the day. So it's a Thai chicken with a peanut butter ginger sauce. As well, I'll show you how you can turn this into a more vegetarian option. And Jacob has his truck. So starting from this side, the vegetables that you're going to need for today's, put that there, you can just hold on nicely. The vegetables that you're going to need for today's recipe is going to be some pre-washed spinach, I'd recommend. You're going to need some sprouts, which I've washed. I've got 2 bags of sprouts here, so 2 typical bags of sprouts. A large sweet onion. For the protein, your options are, what I've got here, if you're a meat eater, I've got, what I'm going to use is 6 chicken breasts plus 2 packages of tofu. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use. If you are a vegetarian, what I would recommend, instead of the chicken, I would recommend maybe keeping the tofu in, but also using some chickpeas. So if you don't want to go with the soaking of the chickpeas, you might put in 2 cans of chickpeas. With the sauce, what you're going to need some bouillon. So this is a chicken flavored vegetarian bouillon. You can use whatever type of bouillon you want. We've got soy sauce, we've got lemon juice. You can use a real lime or lemon if you prefer. I'm just saving time here and just going with the juice. Some cayenne pepper, ginger. You can either use powdered ginger. I'm going to do some fresh ginger. And your choice of either peanut butter, if you don't like peanut butter or you're allergic to peanuts. Cashew butter would also work well in this recipe. You're going to need some boiling water. And as an option, I usually add some stevia. The reason why I do that, I took a cooking course one day that was really great. And they said in every recipe, if you want it to taste the best, you need something salty. Be the soy sauce. You need something sour or tart. That would be the lemon juice. And you need something sweet. And so I find that combination works really well. And if you choose, once you put this meal all together, once you put it all together, if you choose to lay it on some starchy carbs, bulgur, you haven't used it before. I used it in my recipe the first time a couple weeks ago, loved it. It just has a really nice taste. It is a wheat product, so if you're allergic to wheat, then I would suggest laying this on red lentils. Or rice works well, but trying to get you to try some different stuff. So get all that stuff together, and then we'll start into the actual prep. The first item that we're going to do for prep, we're going to cut up the chicken breasts and the tofu and the onion, and we're going to put that in a crock pot. So if I didn't tell you already, this is a crock pot recipe, so you're going to need that. All right, get started. Okay, so the first steps of what I want you to do is you're going to take your onion, you're going to chop it into large slices. Next, we're going to chop up the protein that we're going to use. So for those of you who are parents, I found a really great way to teach kids a safe way to use a knife is to let them cut up tofu. Now, of course, the tofu blocks that Jake's in charge of may not be the most aesthetically pleasing, but as a parent, you know that sometimes your priorities change. So we're going to peel the onion. We're going to chop it into large chunks. By the way, with tofu, if you've never worked with it before, the only thing you need to do in order to prep it is to open up the package and just strain out the liquid, but that's it. Okay, so large chunks for the onion. You'll see I'm able to do this relatively quickly. I find I like large chunks with this. So no smaller than that. And then I will pick those up. I'm going to put those lay them in the bottom of the crock pot. And as I'm putting them in the crock pot, I'm going to kind of separate the onion. So it's kind of a nice layer. We don't have any huge chunks. Yep, I'm going to cut that. We're going to cut the tofu. I'll show you what it will ultimately end up looking like. I got to remember to take my rings off when I chop the meat. So I usually do it into small, approximately centimeter size squares. There we go. Oh, that's okay. You can use that knife. Thank you, though. So that's about the blocks, how I'm going to cut the tofu. So I will steal Jake's block and I will finish with that, and then I'll show you the size that you want to chop your chicken into. So just kind of onion in here. We've got the tofu all chopped up. I've got majority of the chicken cut. Make sure, of course, you don't use the same cutting board after using the chicken for anything else. So make sure that that gets cleaned and put in the dishwasher. So the size of chicken that I'm chopping up, about, what is that, an inch square approximately, and that all goes into the crock pot. So we'll just leave that for a second. I'm going to reorganize. I'm going to put my crock pot over into the actual heating element, and the next step is making the sauce to go over that. Okay, so the next step that we're going to work on is the sauce. Jacob is cleaning the peanut butter spoon for me as we speak. So once again, what we're going to need are all the ingredients you saw at the beginning. Right now, I'm just going to really quickly show you, if you are going to do fresh ginger, how I prepare that is I've rinsed the ginger and then I'm just going to slice off. Sometimes I do slice this off, sometimes I don't, but probably for camera it's probably best to slice off the outside, the bark or the skin, whatever you want to call that. And then I've got this nifty little tool here that I'm going to use, and I'm going to scrape off, just by sliding this up and down, I'm going to scrape off the equivalent of 4 teaspoons. I just approximate my 4 teaspoons using my teaspoon here, scrape it off, and into the bowl it goes. Order in which you put these things in really doesn't matter. Do what's convenient. So that's that first step. We're going to put in half a cup. That's low sodium soy sauce. I do recommend the low sodium if you can get it. I'm going to put in, it says half to a full teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I'm going to put 1/2 and then maybe another 1/4 of a teaspoon in. Just because I want to make sure that Jake will enjoy this. Sometimes a little extra spicy doesn't go over so well with kids. So there's that. And then we're going to do 4 tablespoons of lemon juice. So there's my sour bit. 1, you want to count, Jake? 2, 3, good. And what's next? 4. Then we've got to get in the peanut butter. So I've done 1/2 cup here. Whether you use smooth or chunky, it really doesn't matter. Scrape out as much. You want 1 cup of the bouillon. So a full square typically does, got 1/2 square left over from the last time I made this. So I put my 1/2 square. I'm going to put that directly into the boiling water first and mix that up where I can see it, so I can make sure that I'm putting a fully mixed bouillon cube in there. That's an extra step. You need to do it, not necessarily, but you definitely don't want a chunk of bouillon just around on itself. So again, that's in boiling water, so it dissolves quicker. And the other nice thing about having hot water there is it helps dissolve the peanut butter down a little bit. Now, I'm just going to let the boiling water do its work for a second, and I'm going to add in 4 micro teaspoons of stevia. Again, this step is optional. Maybe taste it first. I've added the stevia at the very end once it's all done cooking, so if you're not sure if that's the right option for you, I'd recommend doing this recipe without the stevia and then adding it at the very end. By the way, I've also put the vegetables back in the fridge because you're not going to put those in until the very last minute. So onions already in there, but the spinach, you're actually going to put the cooked food on a bed of spinach so it wilts down nicely, and the sprouts go in the heated mixture at the very, very end. So if you're familiar with using a crock pot, we're going to let this cook for quite some time. So I'm going to bring this back over. Mixture. It will continue to heat and to liquefy throughout. So I'm going to pour everything in there. Then I'm going to mix that all up before I set it to low heat. Again, you're going to have to know your own crock pot. to decide what's appropriate for you. But I find with my crock pot, usually doing it on low heat for about 3 to 4 hours works really well. You can definitely know it's going to take at least 2 hours, so if you want to go and do something and then check it later, you can. So I'll come back, I'm going to time it. Onion, we've got the chicken, we've got the mixture of soy sauce, peanut butter, ginger, little bit of lemon juice, stevia, and cayenne pepper. Delicious. We're back for the final stages of our Thai chicken, if you're having chicken, Thai dinner. And what we're going to be doing now is taking the bean sprouts, which we've already washed, so there's about 2 bags in there. Sometimes you have to split it up if you have trouble fitting it all into your crock pot. I've still got the crock pot on low. The chicken mixture, the chicken tofu and onion mixture is cooked. I made sure I checked it several times just to make sure that the chicken was well done. If you can, until you get to know your crock pot, you don't want to overcook the chicken, you don't want it too tough, but just so that obviously when you cut through it, it's white all the way through is what we're aiming for, and then it can still stay nice and tender. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix all the sprouts in, and then I'm going to allow that to cook for another maybe only 5 minutes. I prefer the sprouts to stay nice and crisp. You can do it longer if you'd like, anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes, maximum 10 minutes. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to present it on a plate or put it into your Tupperware if you're making your bulk lunches. So we're going to basically put it on a bed of spinach, and the spinach will wilt a little bit from the heated mixture. The other thing you may consider doing right now is making your starchy carbohydrate if you're going to have that. Now in our family, we are going to have starchy carbohydrate because we've got a growing boy, Jake. I'm pregnant, so I'm growing as well. So if you're wondering why I'm filling out these shirts a little more these days, that's why. And Steve may or may not choose to have the starchy carbohydrate for his meal, depending on when he enjoys the lunch relative to his workout. So stay tuned for the final. Okay, so here we are to put together the final meal. And what we've got here is I've put about 2 handfuls of the pre-washed spinach on the plate. So this would be if you were serving it for dinner. I'm going to assume that this would be what we were serving if you're choosing not to have starchy carbs, say at a dinner. And what I'm going to do on this side, I'll scoop out the male portion. So because everything is all mixed in there, protein combined with veggies, combined with the sauce, it's a little bit hard to exactly estimate how much of the protein you're getting, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3 scoops for the male portion and 2 scoops for the female portion. So that would be a nice portion for the man, and then for a female, I might go with 2 scoops, 2 large scoops for a female, trying to make sure that I'm getting an even amount of chicken and tofu and all that good stuff in here. I did an even amount of spinach for both because that's all good. And as that kind of settles, that'll be, it'll wilt the spinach a little bit. If you want to add a little bit of extra liquid there to assist that process, go ahead and do so. The other thing you could add to this, especially if you were choosing to do starch-free, would be I have done roasted some peanuts here. That just adds a really nice complement and finishes off your meal. So that would be your dinner if you were choosing to do, so male portion, female portion, if you were choosing to do it without any starchy carbohydrates. Got to watch that liquid that comes out. Now let's say I was prepping this for my lunch and I did want starchy carbohydrates. So what I visualize is I visualize for every serving of starchy carbohydrate, I want approximately a fist size. So that is approximately my fist size of lentils. And I'm going to do that for each one of these portions. For the male portion, if say I'm doing starchy carbohydrates here, I just assume that the fist is slightly bigger. So I'm going to do maybe 1 1/3 to 1.5 times of what I would do for the female. If you're trying to gain weight for either a male or a female, you want to up those portions as well. And then I'm going to scoop the rest of the protein mixture on top. Hey Jake, here comes our little assistant. So the one thing that I didn't show you how to do today was how to cook the lentils. If you're curious on how to cook lentils, another great starchy carb that you could put on under here if you don't like lentils would be rice or bulgur. It would be really nice with this meal. If you want to learn how to cook your red lentils, I'll put a link to a post in a previous video. I did show you how to cook red lentils, so you can refer to that. Thanks so much and enjoy your meal. We'll see you next time.